I just can't get over that bass at the end of the intro. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Full Quota podcast. This is your weekly South African cricket podcast. We talk all things in the news cycle about South African cricket, and it's a game week. So we've made it, Tim. We've made it through most of the off season, and we're waiting for this. Now, South Africa play Australia starting Wednesday in the T20 series, and then it'll lead up to the five. What is it? Yeah, it's 3 T20s and 5 ODIs, 8 matches. At that lead up to the World Cup. Obviously, the World Cup squad gets announced in a couple of days this week, so that's going to be fun. But outside of that, there's many stories we're going to be talking about. We're going to talk about Laura Wolvaardt. We're going to talk about the series. We're also going to talk about the domestic series. But before I do that, let me introduce Tim. Hi, Tim. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, mate. Yes, it's finally here. We're finally here. We will touch on the press conference that Shamsi had this afternoon, and he said, it's finally here. We've been waiting a long time. It's so nice to see. He said it's so nice to be at an international press conference.
Yeah, no. Yeah, just in Durban, and yeah, it's exciting to have cricket again. But remember, before we talk cricket, you can follow us on X, also known as Twitter. Please follow the @FullQuotaPod. Please also subscribe to our YouTube channel, as well as we'll also got audio versions. And if you're listening to the audio version, hello. We are on Spotify as well as Apple Podcasts. So we've kind of covered the universe. You can see our beautiful faces. Please do subscribe there, and you can listen to our beautiful voices on the drive home or wherever it is where we discuss all these things. So before we do anything, Tim, on the weekend in Pietermaritzburg, we announced the start of the domestic season. Very exciting. CSA had a really lovely event, and they laid out the fixtures. Essentially, One Day Cup's going to be shifted early. It's going to start now in September, and it's going to go all the way up until the beginning of November. Straight after that, we're going to have our 4-day series, which coincides with the India Test Tour. I'm assuming that they'll still be playing games up until SA20 window opens, which will be in Jan to Feb. There's no domestic cricket.
Yeah, I was going to say it's the 4 days is November, December, February.
Yes,
that's the 4-day.
And then after that, yes, and then after that, while the Proteas in New Zealand, the 4-day series continues, and then the CSA T20 Challenge, which is no SA20, but we still need to have a T20 Challenge. That's going to be after that at the back end of the season. I think. I'm still need to think about this and this planning. I wasn't happy that the One Day Cup was at a time where people weren't available to watch a type of cricket that can be consumed easily, right? So I would have I've been okay if you said 4-day series starts now, September, up until November. From November, you have you could even have had the CSA T20 Challenge preceding the SA20, right? It's a consumable product that people can go and watch, and as you enter into the December holidays, right? So that's what I'm thinking. But
yeah,
and then so that's where I'm at right now with this whole fixture. Is it fan friendly, or are you giving yourselves the best chance to get fans to the stadiums? I haven't seen the fixtures yet, but I'm hoping that the fixtures are at a time where fans can go into the stadium. So, i.e., if you're playing One Day Cup fixtures, you're playing on the weekend. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but you're not playing midweek. That type of thing. But I'm not, from a time of year thing, I thought the One Day Cup would be later in the year to give the opportunity for fans to come, because that's a consumable, easy consumable portion of cricket in chunks. It's a day of cricket, that's it, right there at the stadium. You could even say T20 Challenge is a little bit too short for a day at the stadium, right? So maybe you could do that and play around that in Feb or whatever it is after the SA20. It would have been fun to have that, then have the SA20, or have that precede the SA20. But yeah, but that's what I'm thinking. What do you think, Tim?
Well, I'm just looking at the 4-day stuff because that's my bread and butter.
Mm.
What I'm liking here is it start as you've got a lot of games that start on the weekend. So they start on a Saturday and a Sunday, so people can go in and watch it. They don't start on a Tuesday. They don't start on a Wednesday. They actually start on the Saturday. So yes, okay, you don't get the day 4 things. You don't get that, but you're still able to go and get your weekend cricket, so to speak, because you're not starting on a Tuesday,
Yeah.
hoping there's a day 4 on Saturday, and a large parts often there isn't. Now at least you get the nitty gritty. You start, you can go and watch your day's cricket. So from that perspective, I like it. You do have Tuesday games, a fair amount of them. It's about 8 here. So then, if it does last until the 4th day, you still get that. My issues are the same as they were last year, though. If I'm looking at the fixtures, I'm looking at how it all is. We have no sponsorships. I said at the podcast last year, right about this time last year, I contacted USA. They said a title sponsor is in the pipeline. That pipeline must be massive. That's a year ago. Like all the money that is going in SA20, it's going to improve our cricket, and it's fantastic and everything. But you and I said the problem we have is that everybody else is going to be missing out. Everybody else is going to be left with very little. We had South African Cricket Association saying the need for more 4-day cricket, for more competitive 4-day cricket,
The players
giving us
said
an
that.
option. The South African Cricket Association, I'm 99% sure of that.
No,
They
also the players said that as well.
yes, the players themselves said that. And we're sitting here with 7 games. That's what we're sitting here. What we were last season, sitting here with 7 games. We've had the SA20. So if that SA20 was a success, if that SA20 made money, now I'm not asking all that money to go to our grassroots, but something has to go there somewhere along the line. That has to go there. So we are now 12 months on, no title sponsor for any of the competitions. That's SA20, 1-day cup, 4-day competition, plus the players who asked for more games are sitting here with exactly the same amount of games.
So here's something, right? And yeah, maybe we should have led with this. We buried the lead. But last week we also professionalized, well, they said they professionalized women's cricket, right? And everyone is 11 players. So effectively, what they're saying is that 11 players from 6 teams of the 13 provinces, so the 6 teams that are in Division A, they are going to get professional contracts, 11 of them. So not the entire squad, just 11 players. So I'm going to leave it up to you whether you consider that professionalized or not. Because in my head, it has to be the entire squad. You can't have people on the squad of a women's cricket team having to have another job when there's 11 players who are free to just do cricket and focus on cricket. That does not make sense, right? So that's one. The other thing for me, and it's lined with your point about the men's game not getting a title sponsor, right? Is that CSA is struggling to sell cricket, struggling to sell domestic cricket. There is no viable economic answer for domestic cricket, right? Largely because they have not grown the game. And so now, actually, there is a viable thing. What SA20 did is what I've been crying for CSA to do for the domestic leagues for a very long time. Make them a separate entity to CSA, but that entity pays royalties to CSA. Provinces pay royalties to CSA. However, That little entity, just like SA20, goes out, seeks advertising, builds the brand for this domestic league and this domestic season across all three formats, and they sell and they look for broadcast rights, right? You need broadcast rights. Even if it's a small amount coming out of SABC, that's enough. That's something to build on in order to get your players played. CSA can subsidize then, but you need the domestic game, the domestic season for men and women to be separated from the CSA, to have someone run it independently of CSA, to make decisions like SA20 is doing now. We are complaining that there's some SA players who can't play in New Zealand. Yeah, because SA20 decided they created their own little separate platform and they're making decisions on the at the best for the best interest of SA20. Now, here's my thing. And fundamentally it goes to this, right? It's until you get that, you won't get a title sponsor. Because one, everyone's gonna be like, but I can go sponsor SA20. Aren't they part of you? Right? I'd rather be at SA20. And this is what the issue was. They needed to front run SA20. They needed to create the league before SA20 started, right? Because now, if I'm an exec who's wanting to sponsor cricket, I'm going to sponsor the shiny thing and then tell CSA, my money is sponsoring SA20, but that money goes to you. So therefore, by transitive properties, I am a sponsor of cricket in South Africa, right? And what, like there's nothing the domestic game can do. And now here's the question, right? You're professionalizing the women's game, but the men's game is still sitting in a place where, quite frankly, they're not that far away from the women's game. They aren't that far away from the women's game. There's a question that CSA needs to answer for me is how do they get around that that's not a hurdle. How do they get around the fact that they are paying they're paying 66 women, but they're paying 225 men to play cricket in a league, a domestic league that does not bring in substantially more money than the women's game. And in my head, I'm like, if you gave the women's game a chance, they'd bring in some money too, probably to even the same level. If you ever ask Supersport to do these things, supposedly Supersport, cuts the pie for you and tells you this is how much I pay for all of these things. So that's the fundamental question. But that's me on my pedestal on the side thing. I think they should have paid for all 13. They shouldn't have played for. It's 15. It's all or nothing. It's not. And this irritates me about how CSA treats the women's game, right? They do it in piecemeal. They'll be like, okay, here's the first part, then the second part. Whereas with the men, when we're restructuring, they restructured 240 to 225. They never were like, okay, no, we're only going to pay Division 1, and then we're only going to do franchises. Because so that's my thing, right? You need to go all the way through. You need to go through. We're happy that you're paying more people. That we're happy about. So you can go to bed sleeping well. The next thing is, how do you sleep at night knowing that you're only paying 66 women, but you're paying 225 men, and the 225 men do not bring in a cent of revenue for you, or they do bring in a cent of revenue, but it's in the grander scheme of things, the women's game is not that far behind. So why wouldn't you give them that opportunity to try to bring you revenue? And so for me, that's where I'm at with all of this, is that until you separate the domestic stuff for out of CSA and make separate leagues for them, you will not get a viable product. You will not. You will not. And they know this. That's why they are selling cricket entirely and using the Proteas as a banner to say, well, we can give you the Proteas, and if you pay us a little bit more, we can then use that money to sustain the domestic season, this domestic league that feeds into the Proteas product that you love so much. And that's the angle. Whereas SA20 was like, wow, we're going to start a new company. We're going to start something private. We're going to go create this T20 league that's exciting, that's amazing, that is separate of CSA, but we're going to use CSA players and we're going to pay them some sort of affiliation fee. And that blueprint they've had for years, but they never wanted to use it. Heck, even SAFA did it. The PSL is separate from the South African Football Association, and yeah, so yeah, that's my little thing. South African domestic cricket sometimes can bother me and
Well,
the decisions at CSA, but yeah.
I know times have changed, so I'll just play a little bit of devil's
Mm-hmm.
advocate. Pre-franchise, we had we had names for the competitions. We had the Snyder Bank Cup. We had the
Mm.
Super Sports Series. They were called things. They had sponsors.
Yes.
Pre-franchise, they had sponsors. My question is, you look at the players. You look at the players that have been developed
Mm.
through the system, particularly the Proteas now. They've come through that domestic system. People like Donovan Ferreira.
Mm.
Why are
Oh,
they not
definitely.
going? You know what? You know what? That looks like a viable thing I would sponsor. Okay, you can make an argument with the 4-day cricket. But why? I don't understand why there's no sponsorship for the T20 Challenge or the One Day
because
Cup. That doesn't make sense to me.
because not all T20 challenge games on TV one and one day cup on TV one, and also the person running those is an entity that has looked bad in the eyes of the public for the last 4 years. So nobody wants to touch CSA with a 10-foot pole. The other thing is Supersport is telling you what they care about. They care about the international teams, the men and women Proteas. They care about the one day cup only so much as it is provides urgency. So what I mean by that is big games like Titans and Lions will always be on TV, and some of the semifinals or the key games. But remember last year we only got like one or two games on TV. Every other things were on YouTube. All games need to be on
But
YouTube. On TV,
I,
you have a cricket channel for that. I don't understand that, right? And CSA's the lack of insistence from CSA bothers me, right? And also the CSA T20 challenge. It's easy, you can put on TV, and some people do, but because of what they've done with SA20 and effectively relegating the CSA T20 challenge to those who watch as a grassroots. We called it a grassroots thing. It's not grassroots. It's your
it's not. It's
premier
not. I
T20
said grassroots,
tournament
but it's
in
not.
South Africa, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't treat it like that, you're not going to get the same eyeballs to the TV. And to a certain extent, this sits at Supersport and this also sits at CSA. The fact that they're not willing to give ample airtime to domestic cricket. I don't care about 4 day. 4 day is fine. 4 days for me and you. 4 days for us
Yeah.
who will watch it on YouTube. I don't. Yeah, I'd love
Stalwarts.
some
Yeah.
games on TV,
Yes. But yes. Yeah.
but I've resigned to the fact that nobody cares about the longer format of the game. But surely, what like it's easy. 8 hours of content that you can put on a channel and even go to sleep. Don't even bother. But CSA showed us that, and Supersport, that they'll give us half or a portion. So why must I care as a viewer or even as a sponsor? Why must I sponsor something that I'm not going to even get the full spectrum of advertising? Meanwhile, there's this thing called SA20 for the entire month of January. Is going to be on the TV screens for the entire month of January. Is going to be on billboards lining the streets. Let me just invest in that. Who cares about grassroots? Remember, that's CSA's job. That's not my job. My job is to put my company forward in front of potential customers. SA20 is the best thing because guys are in stadiums. It's the in thing. People talk about it. Nobody talks about One Day Cup. Only guys who care about protests. And funny enough, in International Week, you'll see guys be like, oh, who's this Donovan Ferreira guy? Well,
Yes. Yeah.
like I just did. Well, that's why we have our
Yes.
podcast, right? To let people know who Donovan Ferreira is and what they're doing, and weekly update people to, oh no, he scored 100. This guy did this. This guy did this. So there's a body of evidence, and there's a little bit of a media, um, a media interest in guys at that level. There's no money in domestic cricket right now, but we SCSA need to think of ways to bring money in to get it on TV screens. And the other thing is SABC has sports channels. Go there and say for I don't know, the 50 million or 30 million will give you all the domestic games. You just need to
Or even
be at the stadiums and just even giving us a steady state camera. But for 30 million on SABC, the fourth or whatever sports channel they have, do it there. And 30
or
million will cover that 30 million will cover the salaries of all the domestic players, including the women, in perpetuity.
or or do
Or
what
not. Not so much.
what they did last year. So Supersport go, okay, we're only gonna play you for X amount of games of the T20 Challenge and the One Day Cup. They go, it's quick as Alex says, okay, that's fine. Sell the rest to SABC. Sell the rest of the
Allow
package
us to sell the rest to SABC.
that
Does not want
Supersport.
that.
I know that, but they need.
Yes.
I
But
hate that.
that's where the board of CSA need to step up and wake up and work. That's where they need to say it's not in our best interest for you to sell everything. You can come have you have a first right at the pie. You can take the entire pie, but you show the entire pie. Whatever part of the pie you don't show, you give us to us and allow us to sell to everyone else. Same thing with radio rights. When we went as One World Sports Radio, and yeah, you can check this. You can when we went, we were told to CSA, ask them for radio rights. They said go to Supersport because they sold Supersport radio rights. Does Supersport have a radio station that does commentary? You'll tell me about Vision View, but they don't do commentary. So Supersport's sitting on radio rights to do what? So then when we go ask them for it, and they've been doing this for as a modus operandi for a very long time, right? So then you go to them and you ask them for it, they will say no. And we've received much. But sometimes things do change, like the India series, and we were allowed the radio rights because they didn't have a radio option and we did. And that's how we got to bring you the India series. And even then, we offered CSA a lot of things, like putting up a widget for the radio. So if you were driving around, you knew that if I went to the CSA app or their website, you could listen to radio while you're driving around, because radio is more of a, oh, by the way, I'm out of the house, I can't consume the content, right? We offered them that. It doesn't stop CSA from doing that again. Doesn't stop CSA from putting up the YouTube videos on their website, so you can go to the CSA website and consume content there. Do you know what then you can do? You can then go to sponsors and be like, I am getting 1 million people coming to watch domestic cricket on my website. Do you want to sponsor this? The banner on this page, all the adverts on the bottom. We can have live reads in the YouTube stuff. Those are the things you need to think about to generate additional revenue over and above the broadcast rights, right? And for me, that's where they've missed it. They don't see it. But we've got a podcast to conclude, so we've run away.
Yeah, there's a lot there. There's a lot there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to give you guys, I'm a little angry and I'm not happy. But anyway, we've got cricket. We have cricket. South Africa plays Australia in 3 T20s in Durban to kind of simulate Indian conditions. I don't know why we didn't play ODIs there. Would have made sense because we've got an ODI World Cup, but we're playing ODIs in nice bouncy pitches. Bloemfontein's an interesting one because it's a little flat, can resemble a little bit of India. But yeah, so Tim and I were like, hey, first T20, let's give you our 11s and see who we'd like to see on the field on Wednesday for the first T20. The others, obviously, you can chop and change, but the first T20 sets the tone for the series, sets the tone, gives you a sense of what the coaches are looking for and everything else. So we're going to be doing that, and then, Tim, you'll be adding in what you've heard from Tabraze if he's given you something on the Team 11. But here we go. So, yeah, so these are our 11s for the first T20. I'll start with my 11. So I went with the tried and tested Temba Bavuma and Riza Hendricks up top. There's no so here's the thing, right? I know a lot of people don't like Temba in T20s, and many people are like he's trying to get his eye in. Actually, you guys might be surprised. I think Temba is a considered option for thingy. What's his coach's name? Yeah, considered option for the T20 side, and so it's Temba's reason.
Ross Walter.
Yeah, Robert Walters, yes. Cool. I nearly was about to say Shukri, so I kept quiet. Rassi van der Dissen at 3. I think Rassi can add a lot of stuff, a lot of experience into the side and a lot of things. And I know a lot of people don't want him because he bats slowly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But that's where I think you might see change because you could put in Matthew Bretzke in there if you wanted to. Aiden Markram at 4. I like that as captain. Devil Brevis at 5. You have your spin twins in Aiden and Devil at 4 and 5. I like Devil to play lower down the order. Donovan Ferrer and Tristan Stubbs, you can swap them around if you want. But Donovan's going to keep for the entire series for me. Bjorn Fortain, Marco Janssen, Sisanda Magala, and Gerald Kutsia. If Tibre Shamsi plays, then I'd say drop Marco Janssen. We don't need the batting. We need the bowling. And if you're going to play Tibrez, yeah. And I like Sisanda and Joe because I think they're the two quicks we really need to give game time to in terms of the T20 World Cup next year because they'll be there as participants. I do think Sisanda's done enough to pass Lungi, and I think Gerald is on his way to passing Lungi as the fourth seamer. Because outside of Kagiso and Anrich, I think it's Sisanda, Lungi, then Gerald as my five. So this is what it starts with. It's not going to be. They're going to play at a higher tempo. So they're going to keep that strike rate very high, but it's largely going to be giving Gerald and Donovan a chance on the side, the youngsters, and Gerald as well to see how they fare against one of the best teams in the world. Tim, on your end, how does your team look like?
I went with the young and up and coming guys. I went with the new faces as much as I could. I think that I'm probably going to be wrong. I think they're probably going to lean slightly more towards your side, particularly in the bowling department. But it'll be interesting to see. I hope that they stick with that top six. I don't really mind where they bat. I don't mind if they chop and change the batting order. It doesn't matter a huge deal. But if they stick with that top six, I'd be very happy. Obviously, I left out Rassi because we know what Rassi can do. We know he's a very good cricketer in this format. Who else? Again, it was 50-50 between Lazard and Magala for me. It could go either way. It really could. Going on what Shamsi said, I'm not sure he's going to play. Normally, when they put somebody forward for the press conference, that guy tends to play. But from what he said he's not sure of what what they want from him in this particular side. He's just looking forward to getting stuck in. So what? It sounds like he didn't say he wasn't going to play. They asked him, "What is your role within this new look at the Rob Walter?" And he said, we've only had 2 or 3 caps together. I don't really know exactly 100% what my role is within this new setup.
Okay.
That's what he said. So
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
When I saw him in there, I thought he's going to play. So I'm thinking I'm probably going to take out Lazard, play him. But after what he said, I'm not entirely sure. He went on to say that effectively Maharaj being fit is in front of him and the go-to guy. So he suspects perhaps Maharaj will get the nod if one of the two of them plays. That he'll get the nod. So it'll be interesting from that point of view. I'd prefer Bjorn. I feel the same way with Bjorn as I do with Reza. I want both of them now to get a proper run in. They've done it domestically. They've put the numbers in front of the selectors and said, "Pick me." I just like both of them now to get a sizable chance. Particularly with this format, we're still 12 months away from this World Cup. We still got a while away. So there is scope for movement. There is scope for playing a range of players.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I see there you've included with Lazard Williams, and I do agree with you with giving guys a run. And I think in my end, the guys I want to get a run are Sisanda, Bjorn, and Risa. A long run in the side. Um, Dievold can wait. I think for me, when Devin Miller comes back, that's fine. Dievold just needs to be in and around the setup, play a few games, do the whole Colin Ingram thing, right? But without take going away and being Kolpak, right? Just be a good deputy. Make us excited when you play, for when you play, not have you in the cauldron in the fire. But I think in this series, he'll get the 3 games. Reason is to get the 3 games. I think Sisanda needs to get 3 games. I think he's very important for us as South Africa, even in the ODI format. I just feel as though we might still be, and this is the frustration about not growing the game of cricket or not having stuff on TV, right? And this thing of Proteas not playing against each other in domestic cricket, because how is a guy like Sisanda, right, gonna make it into the ODI team and prove that he's a better bowler than Lungi if possibly, or he's better bowler than Gerald, or he's the number one closer in the country? We are telling you that he's the number one closer in the country because I've seen him against less against non-Protea players. But if he's not going to be coming up against Protea standard players, how is he going to do it? And this argument goes for Steelman, goes for Lazard Williams, and all those guys in and around the periphery, right? And because when we play international games, you pick Anrich, you pick Kagiso, you pick all the guys. You don't give guys like Sisanda a run, right? And so that's essentially what I hope for this thing is to give guys Sisanda, Lazard, and Gerald. They must rotate. They must get 2 games each, and they must bowl their lives out. They must get enough game time to go. And if you're taking a third seamer, there is an argument that Mark Jansen doesn't need to bowl. I've seen enough of him. You can have Lazard, Gerald, and Sisanda, and let them play well. Because my issue is there. That's where my issue lies. After Kagiso, Lungi, and Anrich, what do we have left? Oh, we've got Gerald. Great. What was Gerald doing for the past 2 years? I wasn't even sure that Gerald was good enough, right? Now we are, because you've given him the opportunity. So give the opportunity to Sisanda. And you can come and say, yes, Sisanda's had his chances. No, they've been sporadic. Same thing with Lazard Williams. You need to give guys an opportunity to prove you right or wrong. And I hope that this series is that series where is the start of that. Because to a certain extent, there is no need for Kagiso to be playing T20s a year out of the World Cup, right? Or Anrich. But we need to see if other guys are better or can fill a role should they be injured. Because if you looked at Australia, oh my word, the sky is falling for them. It is falling. So I'm happy with that. And to a certain extent, I'm comfortable with the world that Reza Hendricks is our opening batter with Quinton.
I worry. I
Mm-hmm.
haven't heard anything to suggest this, so this is just my opinion. I
Mm.
worry they're going to be hoodwinked and drop him in play and play Purvis there.
Oh
That's my
Lord.
worry. That's my worry. They're going to go, we need to
Remember
go,
last week we were talking about Stan Fansera.
we need to go extra hard. So let's go extra hard with the guy who did do it during the IPL. I think that's a potential possibility. They're going to
Mm.
go, Reese's going to be the guy that's going to miss out again, and they're going to go with that.
Please
I
don't do
hope
that.
I'm wrong, but it's possibility. It's a
Yeah, and
possibility.
also the whole Matthew Bretzka thing, right? My question is, where is he going to bat? Is he going to be top order, middle order? Because I put Develt in my 11 lower down the order because I thought in SA20, which is the small body of evidence that I've had, including what he's done in CSA T20 last year, is that he's better off lower, middle down the order in that Miller axis, right? Um, and so for me, that's that. And is this the first T20 side for Rob Walters?
Don't quote me on that,
Yes.
but I think so.
We didn't
I
play
think so.
T20s against England. We
No.
didn't. It was ODIs. Yes. So this is Rob
ODIs.
Walters' first one. So it's going to give you a sense of how we want to tackle this T20 thing. So, yeah. And yeah, obviously, Matthew Bretzka, why would you have him down there around? I think you had him at 5. Or are you using the whole top 5 can bat anywhere type of Mark Boucher reasoning?
For me, 3, 4, and 5, and actually 6, actually, you can manipulate that. You can
Mm.
manipulate any which way you want. Um, I'm just not
Yeah.
sure I want to bring Aiden any lower than that. Aiden is playing as a batsman for me. He's not playing as a bowler. I know people go, oh, he's
So
playing
who's
as a
your fifth
batsman.
bowler?
No, Aiden could bowl.
Oh, it is.
Aiden's
Okay.
still going to bowl his 4 overs, but he's a batsman
His
who's going to
primary
bowl his
job is to
four
bat.
overs. Yeah,
Yes.
that's his job.
His primary
So
job is to bat. So he
I
must
don't
bat.
want him coming at 6, and but he might do a job at 6. He might do a job. I want him
Mm.
in the top 4, if preferential.
The one thing I
But
like
I guess
about our squads, the one thing I like about
yeah,
our squads is that Tristan Stubbs is. We've got 7 batters. We don't. We've got 7 batters and 4 bowlers, and obviously we figure out. Um, is it because you've been scarred by Mark Boucher?
yes, yeah, and it is, but
Oh
also
my word!
because the first thing I thought was give everyone a chance.
Yeah.
I don't want these guys sitting at 12th, 13th man, twiddling their
Mm,
thumbs,
mm,
thinking, oh, SA20
yeah.
starting in a month, I can play that. I want them playing. I want them in the
Yeah.
cauldron. I want to see what they can do. It's going to be
I'm interested
different
to
when we
see.
do. Our
Yeah.
levels are going to be different when we talk about the 50 overs. That's going to be
Yeah.
very different because
Oh yeah. No, that's
we're
different.
locked
That's
in.
different.
We're locked
Yes.
in. We know what our 15 is. Here we can
Mm.
manipulate, if you like.
It'll be interesting to see what Tristan Stubbs looks like, right? And to a certain extent, Donna Ferreira in this level. Obviously, Tristan Stubbs started off really well, like a house on fire. Then someone doused him with water, and it's over. The fire brigade came to that house on fire, and they did their job. And Tristan managed to walk away with millions, but yeah, now it's coming home. It really is coming home now for him. So I think it's an important series for him because he's fading away in South African cricket circles as a guy who can do a job for you, an explosive job for you, right? And so this is an opportunity for him to prove that he's got this. But now he's got competition in Donovan Ferreira, who also can keep and do all these things, and I know Tristan can do them as well. But it's going to be quite interesting to see, and that's the thing about T20, right? It's about opportunities, right? If we have a batting collapse, it's going to be down to them. He showed him some glimpses in SAA, did Tristan, but you kind of now need him to step up. If not, the guy in and around him in that batting order, whether it be under him or above him, that guy, now that guy, if he can, if Don Ferrer can just give us an ounce of what we've seen, that guy is dangerous. That guy is
Well,
someone I am so excited to see, and also so excited to unleash on the Australians. Because once you beat the
well,
Australians, there's no you can't take him out the side. You can't be like, oh, but we've got You've taken Australia out on your own.
Travis Head did the Australian thing at their press conference. He talked us up as if we were world champions. He did the typical. Said they've got such exciting talent. The young guys coming through are really outstanding talent. Ones to watch out for. And I thought, oh god, it's the Australian thing
Yeah.
making us feel wonderful, and then
Yes, but
and
and then
then
they
and then,
pick us off easily. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see how these team goes, and what Rob Walters gives us. I think it's going to be quite interesting, especially in Durban. So it's also the other thing, right? Deerveld needs to have a bowl. I need to see Deerveld. So even if Aiden doesn't bowl, Deerveld needs to bowl at least 2 overs, just to give us a sense of what this guy is working with, right? Um, and like I've always said, Deerveld beat his age group mates. He's beaten the people in his country. Now he needs to prove that he can beat the world at a senior level. And if he can't, this is the time for us to find out and then go find someone else. And not hang around and hold on to people longer than we need to. Because it's competitive in these streets, and that's what we want. We want competition. We want competition for places, and that's what this series, T20 series should be. You shouldn't be the only name in pen that should be the name in pen is the captain's name. Every other name needs to thing. The only problem, obviously, the T20 World Cup is that the captain's name was the name that was in pen, and everyone was complaining about that name. So yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Good luck to the Proteas. First T20 is Wednesday,
Wednesday.
and then so what are we having press conferences on Monday? And then we've got the second one on Friday, and then the third one it'll be on Sunday, and then the first ODI, the day nighter, will be on the 7th. Then you have one on the 9th, the 12th, the 15th, and the 17th. So yeah, good luck to the Proteas. That's going to be quite an interesting one. Please don't lose to Australia. Please, please. Oh, look, you can, but you know,
I don't mind if we lose
this
the
is the country.
T20s.
Play hard.
I don't mind if we lose the T20s. We can't lose the ODIs. We will discuss that later
Is it a
part.
bad thing to lose the ODIs? Like New Zealand lost to the Springboks on Friday. Now they're no longer favorites. It's nice to go into World Cup not knowing that anyone's a favorite, that you're a favorite, that people are expecting big things from you. Just douse the fire. That's the problem with the Springboks, right? They're going into the World Cup hot just because they beat a lackluster New Zealand team and a Wales team that doesn't know which way is up. But anyway, that was not a rugby. But we've got a rugby
Yeah.
podcast called Crash Ball. Please do check them out. Um, yeah. So last one to talk about, and I do apologize for relegating into the back of the show. We have a new Proteas woman captain. It's Laura Wolvaardt. Um, I think it's okay. Um, I expect Laura to be captain of this team for a very long time. I thought she was going to get there someday. I didn't think it'd be in the year of our Lord 2023. Because largely because and we spoke about this last week, Sune did a great job, an amazing job. And yeah, it's just, and this is the tough thing about leadership and being a top player in the side, is that you'll get the captaincy in weird ways, right? In uncomfortable ways. And so it's going to be interesting to see how she manages that team with Sune in the team, right? And how she feels about, because I don't think we've gotten a sense of how she feels about what's gone down with Sune. And on top of that, her then getting the job in that state. And Sune didn't leave the team. She's not like Danae. Danae left, right? Yeah, well, she resigned.
Yeah.
She retired, right? So she wasn't in the squad, right? So it's going to be an interesting thing to see how it works. Also, the whole Hilton thing. He says the spirit in the camp is amazing. Yeah, I love how like the CSA have PR down to a T, but they don't have everything else. They even give you the definition of leadership. So Enoch and Quater's statement at the bottom of the CSA thing literally outlined what a captain is, and I'm like, oh yes, I can find that in the Oxford Dictionary. And then like Laura embodies all of those. I'm like, oh great, yes, we know that. That's beautiful, but there's many things underlying there. So, Tim, what's your take on this?
Look, she was always going to be captain at one stage, as you rightly pointed out. I think if you ask her privately, she'll go, you know what? I didn't want it to happen like this. I wanted it, absolutely. I didn't want it to happen like this. That is the issue. And Cricket South Africa have created a mess of their own making.
100%.
They have kicked a problem down the can. They have said to Hilton,
Sweet brother, man.
we want you till December. So whatever, if the problem is tiny, if it's one person, or whether it's a whole bunch of people, it's still a problem. It's still a problem for the next 3 or 4 months. And it's going to be festering there. And that problem is probably going to get worse. That is not a great atmosphere for Laura. That's not a great place for her to
especially
start.
with a team where the seniors have a problem with the coach. The juniors who are getting opportunities probably are okay with the coach. They probably won't have an opinion on the coach, and that could create a rift in the team. Um, and so it's I don't like giving Laura the captaincy like this.
No,
And that's my and that's
and
the underlying thing. Like,
that
there's
is
no
the
way to always
problem.
cut it to make it look good. It is a horrible thing to take right now, and it's such a beautiful thing to represent your country as a captain. And I wished that they would have made more for Laura, because effectively Laura is like she's the golden child. She's the the fruits of the work that they did to grow women's cricket. Laura is the example of what you can do when you grow women's cricket. You'll get a girl who is just as good, who bats like she's the textbook, who is at the top of world cricket. And yet, we're making a captain in the shadows.
The small thing about it was when they did the press conference, they were in different places.
Mm.
Now I don't know where either of them are, but if you're making a new captain of a national side, I think ideally you need to be at the same place. I would
Yeah,
have
well,
thought.
someone was playing the 100, and someone got
Oh,
a phone
that's
call
right.
saying,
Sorry. Yes,
yes,
of
and she got a
course,
phone
of
call
course,
saying, "Do you want to
of
be captain
course,
of the team?" And she's like, "What? How?" And they were like,
of
"Well,
course, of
Sinead has
course,
stepped down, and we think you'd be a great candidate to be captain." And yeah, so
of course.
it's not a
No,
great look. It
no,
but
of course.
yeah, but
Yeah,
my thing, but it's the same thing, right?
yeah.
When you'd make decisions like this, it's because now when they make a permanent, we'll be like, "But yeah, she's been captain already. Like, we get it, right?" And you just they just
Also,
missed an
also
opportunity.
also the other thing with the press conference was Laura was very brave. She didn't notice any sort of animosity from
Mm.
her. Hilton was very defensive. They
No, no,
asked her
he was.
about. He was very, very, you know,
Yeah.
not willing to rock the boat or say anything. So that
Mm.
again, Hilton is always been a sort of honest sort of fellow. We had him on this podcast. He was
Yeah.
very honest, very forward with us when we
Yeah.
talked to him. Very engaging. So he's now changed. He's now changed
Mm.
from what has happened. That doesn't produce a good environment for him
Mm.
to be the coach that we
And
know he can be, and he has
and
been.
that's the issue that I have. I'm just hoping that um we should beat Pakistan, guys. That I'll tell you now. They should win the series. Even with the squad they've sent there, right? And my only question is, did you ask Marzan? What did she say? Because I didn't want to give Laura this, but I was happy to give it to Marzan because Marzan has been able to handle this with so much grace. And but maybe they felt embarrassed after what they've done to Marzan and her wife and everything else to go in and ask. And she should
Yeah,
be captain. She should captain this Pakistan tour. Um, One way to lock her in for the foreseeable future, um, unless if Marzan's going to resign soon. And so that's my thing. It I hope it doesn't affect Laura's batting. That was the other thing I was worried about. But I in my head I'm thinking, did they ask Marzan and did she tell them to where to get off? And I think that may have happened, but you probably not going to hear it from me. I'm just playing thinking conspiracy. But yeah, so yeah, I wish Laura the best. I hope this Pakistan tour goes well, and the New Zealand tour. It's an inbound tour, so they'll be here, and we'll be watching them at home. That's actually going to be a tougher prospect, right? And yeah, away from home, we'll get visuals, and we'll see. Hopefully, we'll be able to see them on TV and be able to assess whether the team is healthy or not mentally. I think they're all fit and fighting, and yeah. So first on without Shibnam. That's gonna be tough. That's gonna be so tough. But we hope Dumi, I think she's the next in line, um, can step up and give us not be Shubman, but give us something that will cement a place in the side and take more wickets. Um, Tim, we're to the end of our show. Is there anything that you'd like to add about the cricketing week or that we may have missed that you want to talk about?
No, I don't think it's anything. Just to,
Okay.
as you said at the start of the podcast, please, guys, like us, share us, tweet us, get us much traction as
Do the
possible. The more
necessary
traction.
things. Do the
Yeah,
necessary things.
yes, indeed. Indeed.
Yes. And yeah, send you your comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you agree that Laura should have been captain? Do you agree with our 11s? Who else have we missed out? Do we need to go fetch somebody from somewhere to play for us? Do you think we're going to beat Australia even though they've got so many injuries? Oh, my word. It's like, oh, the sky is falling. No Cummins, no Stark, no Smith.
The, the
No, is
T20
Warner
squad
even
is
fit?
weak. It's weak.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
weak.
So, yeah, but Team Sisanda, please go take many wickets, Sisanda. Then we'll talk about all your exploits next week. Outside of that, have a good week. There'll be more drama and more things we're going to talk about in the next week. So enjoy that. And there's cricket. So we've made it. So I'm so excited. Oh, the first cricket of the summer. First international game of the summer. It's going to be sweet. It's going to be glorious. Do enjoy it. Goodbye and le sale kakahiso.